All right, welcome to this online video lecture. This time around we'll be looking at state change and energy change as we continue to explore the states of matter. What you should be able to do by the end of this video is identify a state change, like from solid to liquid, liquid to gas, gas to solid, as either endothermic or exothermic. So let's just look at those two terms really quickly. We have endothermic and exothermic. And the root of these words, thermic, refers to energy, kinetic energy, which you measure with the thermometer. And then endo, the prefix endo means in, and exo, the prefix exo means out. So something that's endothermic is something that happens when energy goes in. And something that's exothermic happens when energy goes out. All right, so clearly if we're going to have to be able to identify state changes in terms of endothermic and exothermic, we need to know how much energy states have relative to each other. And we have kind of looked at this before, but we're going to just look at it again. You've got solid, and then liquid, and then gas. There are other states, but that's a subject for more advanced study. And in terms of the kinetic energy that they have, solids have the lowest, and then gases have the highest kinetic energy. Oh man, what a horrible E. Fix that. Okay, so gases have the highest kinetic energy, and liquids have a medium kinetic energy. So what does that mean? Well, it means that, like, if we wanted to, we could take and make a kind of graph that has the three states on it. And if this graph has energy, then solid would be on the bottom, and then liquid would be in the middle, and gas would be on the top. So if you imagine bars here, if you have a solid, you have a bar like this, and you want to turn the solid into a liquid, well, the liquid is up here, and the liquid has more energy than the solid. So if you want something to become a liquid, you have to add more energy to get it up there. What's really going on here is that the particles of a liquid have more kinetic energy, and that allows them to kind of overcome the intermolecular forces that hold the particles in place in solids and lets them begin to move around, which is what you see in liquids. But you can think of it this way too. You have to put energy in to go up from solid to a liquid. You have to add energy, which is the green portion here. So going from a solid to a liquid would be endothermic because energy is going in. You have to add energy. And likewise, if you have a liquid and you want to get up here to a gas, again, you have to add energy. You have to put energy in order to do that. There has to be more energy. The kinetic energy of gas particles is very, very, very high. So you have to add a whole bunch of energy to get those liquid particles to start to break away from one another and start flying in those very, very high energy, very fast straight lines that they move in. So we have two transitions here that we're looking at. We're looking at solid to liquid and liquid to gas, and those transitions have names. If you're going from solid to a liquid, that's called melting. And if you're going from a liquid to a gas, that's called evaporation. Evaporation. Depending on how quickly it's happening, we sometimes call that boiling too. Boiling. Imagine if you tried to go from a solid all the way up to a gas. Think of all the energy that you'd have to add in order to do that. As you can see, it would take a lot of energy to do that, to go from a solid straight from a solid to a gas. You have to put tons of energy in, lots of energy. So that's clearly very, very endothermic as well. You would think that that doesn't happen very often, but it's more common than you think. If you've ever seen people that have clothes out in the clothesline in the wintertime and they dry, that's what's happening. The solid water in the clothes, once the water freezes in the wet clothes, it changes directly to a gas. It's called sublimation. Sublimation. Going straight from a solid up to a gas. And all three of these, melting, evaporation, or boiling. Some people even call it vaporation. Melting, evaporation, sublimation, all three of those are endothermic. Energy is going in. Endothermic. So let's look at the other side of this then. I'll erase my endothermic here real quick. If we have a gas and we want to change it to a liquid, so now we have a gas and we want it to become a liquid. So that means we actually have to remove energy, right? We have to take energy out of that matter in order for that to happen. Same thing happens if you have a liquid and you want it to become a solid. If you want a liquid to become a solid, the same thing happens. You have to take energy out of that liquid for it to become a solid. And then, like before, there's a third possibility. You can go from a gas all the way down to a liquid, and when you do that, you have to take out a whole bunch of energy. So I think you know the names to these. Going from a gas to a liquid, that's called condensation. And going from a liquid to a solid is called freezing. And then this one, going from a gas straight down to a solid, is called deposition. Oops, sorry. Get that fixed. There we go. And because all three of these state changes involve energy leaving the matter, these are all exothermic. Before I end the video, there's just, for those of you who like to think of things in different ways, you can kind of think of them like this too. If you imagine the states, gas way up here, right? And then liquid down a little bit. Oops. And then solid down here. Right? So to get up to the next level, energy has to go in. To get up to the next level, energy has to go in. If you want to skip and go straight up there, energy has to go in. Whereas if you want to come down, energy has to come out. So over here we have all the endothermic changes, and over here we have all of the exothermic changes. Right? And just really quickly to name these, solid to liquid is melting. Liquid to gas is evaporation. This is solid. Straight to gas is sublimation. A gas to a liquid is condensation. A liquid to a solid is freezing. And a gas straight to a solid, that's that weird one, that's deposition. So sublimation, evaporation, melting, those are all endothermic. Deposition, condensation, freezing, they're all exothermic. Now be careful, because sometimes these seem different, opposite to you. Like when students think of freezing, they think of cold. But when exothermic things happen, they usually feel warm because energy is coming out. So you have to be really, really careful. Even though ice is cold, when water transitions from liquid to a solid, when it freezes, it actually gives off heat energy. So just be really careful that you have them straight in your head before you answer any quiz questions. So that's it for this online video lecture. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask in class. And thank you for watching.